Hi friends, this is FirearmPop, and I have another in my installment of Armed Citizen Stories. And this one's coming out of a vintage magazine. This is November 2003 of The Rifleman. It's a NRA publication, and we got to get to page 10 here, where it's just chock full of armed citizen stories. So, without further ado, let's get to it. A home invasion in San Antonio, Texas ended when the invader, James Adam Garcia, was killed by the homeowner, Richard Gomez, Sr. Son Richard Jr. told police he had been in the living room watching TV when someone knocked at the door. When Gomez answered, a man pushed his way inside saying, "This is a Jack." The intruder, later identified as Garcia, then repeated the phrase before shooting the younger Gomez in the leg. Garcia then ordered the wounded man toward the back of the house. Then elder Gomez was in the bedroom with his wife when he heard the gunshot. He grabbed his .357 caliber revolver and left the bedroom to investigate. When Garcia saw Gomez Sr., he fired at him, striking the elder Gomez in the chest. The homeowner then raised his gun and fired 2 shots at Garcia, killing him. And that happened in San Antonio, Texas. A Fort Wayne, Indiana liquor store clerk did more than cover for a co-worker when he worked an extra shift on Monday night. He may have saved the lives of everyone in the store. The employee had come to work at the Cap and Cork liquor store armed with a gun he carries for personal protection as he rides his bike to and from the job. According to police reports, a man entered the liquor store carrying a rifle, which he then fired into the air in an apparent robbery attempt. The armed employee then pulled his own gun and fatally shot the would-be robber. A possible accomplice of the gunman fled the store after shooting. That happened in Fort Wayne, Indiana. A Pompano Beach, Florida jewelry store owner, Alfredo Guido, was buzzing a customer in when 4 masked men pushed their way into the store. The owner's son, Melton Guido, grabbed a handgun from under the counter and hid behind the cash register. One of the masked intruders had then pointed a gun at the store owner's head. Another of the armed bandits saw the younger Guido was armed and fired at him. The owner's son fired back and struck one of the assailants. The son then yelled for his father to jump over the counter, and as he did, the 4 robbers tried to leave the store, but the door was locked. The younger Guido hid the buzzer, and the men fled empty-handed. The wounded robber collapsed outside the store and later died. And police were still searching for the other suspects. And this happened in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 3 ne'er-do-wells in Louisiana found it didn't pay to be greedy when robbing an elderly Pine, Louisiana resident. The 3 men broke into the 79-year-old woman's home about 4 a.m. The resident was awakened by the barking dog and then realized there was a masked man standing near her bed. When the robber demanded money and jewelry, she shook her metal walker at him. Good for you, Granny. He grabbed her purse and jewelry box and left, then when returned with an accomplice. By then, the resident had retrieved her handgun from under her mattress and aimed it at the returning intruders, who ran from the home. 3 suspects were arrested and charged with armed robbery. That was in Franklinton, Louisiana. A fugitive fleeing from sheriff deputies broke into a Gilchrist, Oregon home and was shot dead by the homeowner. David Kreider had been notified by Oregon State Police earlier in the evening that a fugitive had been caught chasing on the highway, had left his broken down vehicle and was stopped near the Crider's home. Around 4 a.m., the Criders heard the sound of someone breaking in, and Mr. Crider armed himself with a rifle. When he saw the intruder, later identified as Mark Nelson, he thought the man was holding something in his hand, and Nelson had raised his arm. Crider shot him. Investigators then discovered a 2-foot piece of pipe near Nelson's body, and that was in Eugene, Oregon. A 76-year-old, here we go again, a 76-year-old Newberry Springs, California man was awakened by the sounds of someone breaking into his home in the early morning hours. The resident retrieved the handgun and confronted the intruder. As he held the would-be robber at gunpoint and dialed 911, the interloper made a threatening move toward the homeowner, who then shot him once in the chest, killing him. He is definitely there to steal from or rob the victim, reported San Bernardino County Sheriff Garrett Tressler. And that was in Barstow, California. Great, 76-year-old does it again. Louis Capraletti was sleeping in his Studio City apartment in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, when he was awakened at 12:45 a.m. by 2 men breaking into his home. Capraletti confronted the intruders and during the ensuing fight pulled out a 9mm handgun and fired at his assailants, wounding one. The resident had then held the men at gunpoint until officers arrived. The 2 suspects were charged with aggravated burglary and robbery, according to the police lieutenant Tom Pazza, and that was in Akron, Ohio. Great stories. Great to be able to read them to you. I hope you enjoyed them. More proof that the Second Amendment gives us the right to stand our ground. And yeah, I know those are 2 different laws. The Second Amendment is in the Constitution, and the stand your ground laws is in most states, or a lot of states. I think 44 at the last count. So that's gives us the right to stand our ground and defend our home and ourselves and our loved ones. So God bless these people for taking action. Hope you enjoyed these stories. This is Firearm Pop. Be safe out there, and God bless. Bye now.